What's up, guys? It's your boys Wokey back out with some more of the Chris Watts videos, but this one's a different, interesting one. Apparently, I'm just finding out now. I don't know how I didn't find this out, but apparently NK was messaging Chris Watts' father, Ronnie Watts, before the murders. Apparently, Jamie Watts, Chris Watts' sister, was told police that she should not be talking to them. What is happening? What is going on? I want to take a look at this because you guys have sent me this that I needed to watch it. So we're going to watch it. Before we go any further, if you could do me a solid favor and subscribe to the YouTube channel by hitting that wiper icon down the bottom right. Hit that bell icon next to it so when I do post videos like this one, you guys will get that little ring notification that I posted that video. And then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, thank you guys so very much for the continued love and support that you guys show on this channel every single day. I can't thank you guys enough, and keep doing what you guys are doing. We'll continue to keep growing together. Speaking of support, though, check out the link in the description for Zav Girl. She's definitely been on this case for a while now. We definitely want to say her content because, I mean, it's definitely very peculiar to look at. With that being said, make sure you guys comment your guys' thoughts down below. Please let me know your guys' thoughts, your opinions, and so forth like that. And with that being said, let's get into this information.
Welcome to my channel. So this video, I am going to read you like a summary of Troy McCoy's interview. So, I mean, I know
which I keep wanting to watch. If you guys want me to watch Troy interview, let me know down in the comments. There's some other interviews done by Chris Watts' friend, Shanann Watts' friend, and so forth. So if you guys want me to do those interviews, comment below, hashtag do the interviews.
Most of you guys have probably already listened to it, but for those of you that maybe listened to it a while ago, because I know some of these interviews is like, wow, I haven't listened to them in so long. That's why I'm kind of going through some of the old interviews, recordings, and kind of picking out some of the more interesting ones, or maybe ones that, you know, maybe you guys haven't seen in a while, and I'm uploading them because, you know, some of them, it's like, man, I forgot about this, or I forgot that they said this, or, you know, and then I'm getting a lot of comments where people have never even seen some of the interviews. So, you know,
that's why we're watching this.
So there's a lot of them out there. So I'm just going to keep going through them and try to pick out some of the ones that maybe that aren't as heavily uploaded. You know, for some of you that haven't seen them yet, or the ones that kind of refresh your memory on some of the stuff. Because like I said, you know, I started going through all these files and interviews like months ago. So now going back to the beginning again, it's like, whoa, wow, I haven't listened to this forever. Like, I forgot that they said this or they said that.
That's
so
why
anyway,
I've watched these multiple times.
But for those of you who maybe don't want to listen to the whole interview, or just want to kind of refresh on what they said, I'm going to read you a couple of the summaries, like of some of the interviews, like Troy McCoy, Nick Thayer, and Chad McNeil. It's like a summary of their interviews, okay? So, but anyway, before that though, there's something interesting that I read that I wanted to read you. So there's like an activity log here that who did this? I'm trying to find what detective did this activity. It looks like maybe Bakes, but anyway, so they did like the activity. There's 5 different things that they just marked down, like a time and date of basically somebody that calls them in and like makes a report or says something, or has a request or whatever. So
a witness.
There's a couple interesting things here. So 8/14 somebody called in at 15:04 hours, Holly Coventry, and she said she had a Facebook message read this morning. So if I remember right, there's more in depth where it talks about where I guess she just received a Facebook message that she thought was kind of suspicious, I guess. So, but remember, this was before they knew what was going on. This is 8/14, so this is just that would have been what, Tuesday, because the 13th would have been Monday. Yeah, so it would have been Tuesday, before they even They knew. So there was just like a suspicious Facebook message that somebody reported. Okay. So on 8/14, on the same day at 1500, Crystal Michael, she lives in Windham Hill at, so at 2:10 in the morning, on Monday morning, she heard a gunshot or a loud car backfire. Concerned her enough to take a picture of the clock. So that would have been right around the time we think this all took place. Well, he said in his new confession that, or in his that most recent interview, that it didn't happen till like, what was like 4 something.
4, which I do
closer
believe.
to 5. So, but originally, remember, we all thought originally something happened around 2 in the morning.
I don't think
so.
Again, I don't think the murders happened right away. I think they slept for a little bit. They woke up, a little argument ensued, and that's when he had murdered her. I don't feel like he murdered her and then just sat there leaving her there. I don't see that possible.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess 2:10, that would have been like almost 25 minutes after she got home.
But gunshots though?
And it was so, in the neighborhood, somewhere close, to where they live, somebody heard, a gunshot or a loud car backfire. So I don't know what that was. It's kind of odd. And then let's see. Oh, and then somebody calls in and offers at 8/14 at 1500. Somebody calls in and says that they have cadaver dogs that are amazing, offering for free to offering basically his services for free. So that was nice. Alan Duffy, yeah, that was nice of him. I don't know if, obviously it doesn't look like they used him, but and this is the one that's kind of weird, okay? Because no,
I want to hear
there's
weird.
nothing about Jamie Watts anywhere at Chris's sister. I mean, there's no interview. There's no.
I know that there's a video done between Chris and the sister. I'm not going to mention the YouTube channel because I'm not saying this is a bad video, but the relationship apparently between the two is very weird. But I didn't see that was going to help us in this situation. Maybe it could, maybe it couldn't, because maybe the sister was friends with Nicole. Who knows? It's not factual, but that's why I didn't do a reaction on that video, because I didn't think it would help us in any shape or form.
Nothing like that. Did they not interview her? They interviewed all the family members. They interviewed how many friends? How didn't they interview the sister of the suspect?
Murder.
I don't know. Because if they interviewed her, why would they have kept it out of the discovery? You think they would have put it in? What makes her so special that they're not going to put it in the discovery?
They took out a lot of Nicole Kessinger's stuff in the discovery.
So then, if you're going with that reasoning, then okay. So, yeah, they must not have interviewed her. But then you could use that same reasoning of, well, what makes her so special that they didn't interview her? Because, I mean, they interviewed everybody else. Why, even if she didn't want to be interviewed, it's almost like something like your duty. I mean, that's your duty. Like, I mean, something happens like that, then it's almost like, no matter, even if you don't feel like being interviewed, you just do it. And you wouldn't think the cops would really give you an option. I guess they couldn't force you. If they asked her, I guess she could say, no. And I don't know if they could really force her to be interviewed, but I mean, that's kind of weird. You think, did they ask her?
Why
and
didn't
she
they?
Said no. No.
I mean, they did an interview for Cindy Watts, but that was on camera. But I don't think it's like the police officers are asking her questions. They had an interview with Ronnie, but they didn't do anything with Jamie. But again, do they need to? But she's going to tell us why it's weird.
No, I'm not. I don't want to be interviewed. I'm not going to talk. I don't know. But anyway, so on 8/14 at 14:45 hours, which is
2 o'clock.
What is that? Wait, So that's what, 2:45, I think, right?
Always take the time that you hear, subtract 12. Easy peasy.
13:40. Yeah, I think it's 2:45 p.m. So it sounds like, because what they have is, I'm not sure if this means that they called her or she called them, but it almost sounds like by the statement that maybe they called her. So maybe they did call her, and maybe this is it right here. But all it says is Jamie Watts, and it says, was talking to media, stated she shouldn't be talking, and hung up. That's what it says. So it's almost like they called her maybe to ask her some questions, and she told him, oh, I'm talking to the media, and then told him, oh, I shouldn't be talking, and then just hung up. So I don't know. I guess that's the answer to the question. If what I was just saying earlier is right before that, did they ask her and she said no? So maybe that was them, you know.
But then Cindy Watts talked to the media,
trying to talk to her, and she said no, you know, I shouldn't be talking, and just hangs up on him. And you know, they're probably not going to get like a warrant or whatever you have to get to make somebody talk, like interrogation, or what would it be, like a warrant to make them come in and talk, or what is that called? I don't know, but
a summons.
That'd be probably kind of hard to get
warrant
for just like the sister, unless if they thought she was involved in some way. You know what I'm saying? So if she didn't say no, I'm not talking, like they're probably not going to go that far into making her.
But did she know about NK?
They really needed some information from her, and obviously they didn't.
Did Chris possibly confide in his family? Possibly said, "Oh no, I did something stupid." Who knows?
Didn't think so, you know. So it's So I guess it does sound like she just said no, I'm not going to be talking, and hangs up. So, and then on the same day, 8/14 at 15:15 hours, mother of Shanann called, and so she called them and said she really wants the luggage upstairs searched. It has been untouched since trip, so she just wanted them to search that luggage that they did end up searching. I actually have the pictures of them, you know, the photos of them when they searched it and took everything out. I could actually upload too, where they went through all her stuff. But I mean, nothing really pertaining to what happened. It was just all her stuff, you know, from the trip. But
which she didn't unpack because she's probably tired. But again, why did Jamie not want to talk to anybody? So it says Chris Watts, but then it says Shanann Watts' email. I haven't seen these pictures. Looks like a normal suitcase. Things that are obviously Ziplocked. Looks like a mother. Mothers love Ziploc bags. Just trying to look at everything and see if anything sticks out to me at all. We got a waistband. Obviously, she wants to make sure her belly.
Okay, so I just found that interesting because that's the only time so far that I've been able to find her name in the discovery. I didn't find anything about her in the discovery. So it's like, man. Okay, so I mean, what do you guys think of that though? Like, so it doesn't it sound like that she, like, they try to call her, and so it says talking to the media. So what was she was saying? She was currently talking to the media,
or she was,
it sounds like,
asked by the media to talk, and she said,
because
I
the
can't.
Statement's just like one statement. I wish they would have been more descriptive or more to it. Unless if it was just y'all said, okay, talking to the media, I shouldn't be talking, hang up. Or
that's what I think.
So what? She could talk to the media, but she won't talk to the cops? Or was she telling them, you know what I'm saying? I think I'm looking way too much into it, but was it either she was telling them, yeah, like, I'm talking to the media, you know, I shouldn't be talking, and hangs up, so, you know, it's okay to talk to the media, but she shouldn't be talking to the cops? Or was she saying, I'm talking to the media, I shouldn't be talking, like, man, I shouldn't even be talking to the media.
It's all with interpretation, pretty much,
and then
right
hangs
at this
up
point.
on them. But the fact that she didn't end up talking to the cops, or at least there's no record of it, so she had to have met them too, you know, because if she meant like, oh, I'm talking to the media, I shouldn't be talking to them, then you would think but I'll talk to you guys, but then there would be a record of her talking. So it's almost like, and then she just hangs up though. So it's almost like, you know, she was saying,
or she could be hiding something.
I shouldn't be talking to the cops too, you know. But I don't know if she was saying she was talking to the media. So what, she was talking to the media? I don't know. I'm just looking at,
it's pretty much
trying
with
to
all
like analyze that
interpretation.
one little statement on all different ways that it could be taken. Either, you know, she was okay, you know, she's talking to the media, but didn't want to talk to the cops, shouldn't be talking to the cops, or she was talking to the media and shouldn't be talking to the media and telling the cops, oh, I shouldn't be talking to the media, I should just shut up, you know. But then, is she going to talk to the cops, or saying both? Like, I'm talking to the media, I shouldn't be I just need to shut up, like, shouldn't be talking to the media or the cops. I don't know. But then she just hangs up, so it's like, what? I
you
don't
hang
know.
up because you
there's
don't
no
want to
other
talk to
record
him.
of her.
So is that because she has something,
Of
or
her in this discovery?
she just doesn't want to be involved?
I don't know. It's kind of weird. Okay, so now here is the summary of Troy McCoy's interview. Okay,
Yeah, I definitely want to hear this.
And this is from, let's see what it says here, 8:15. Oh no, that's something else. Okay, so Troy McCoy, date of birth, blah blah blah, phone number, address, whatever. Okay, Greeley, Colorado. Okay, was interviewed at his place of employment, Anadarko Petroleum Corporation, in Platteville, Colorado. Okay, so Agent Greg Zettner, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, was also present during the course of the interview.
So two people were in there.
So after being advised of the identities of the interviewing agents and the nature of the interview, McCoy provided the following information. Okay, so McCoy is an Anadarko field supervisor.
With the fire
He
stick.
has known Chris for approximately 2.5 years. Watts and McCoy have sometimes worked opposite schedules. Been on the same work schedule, maintaining E40 oil sites or batteries since approximately October 2017. McCoy and Watts generally only interact at work, but McCoy met Watts' wife, Shanann Watts, at the 2017 company Christmas party. McCoy was aware that Shanann sold Thrive products, and McCoy's wife had also been involved with the product. McCoy believed that he had been to Watts' home twice, the most recent occasion around February 2018. McCoy's children had played with Watts' daughters, Celeste and Bella. McCoy remarked that one of his children had seen photographs of Celeste and Bella on news channels following their disappearance and had asked if Celeste and Bella could come play. Oh, how sad is that, though, man. Wonder how they explain that to them. Hopefully they didn't talk like, that interview with the Lindstroms, how they were talking right in front of the kids. I just can't believe it. Like, they should not have had them in the same room. They should not have been listening to that stuff. That kind of upset me. But anyway, McCoy recalled that during his interaction with Shanann, she was often on the telephone speaking with clients. McCoy was aware that Shanann had recently spent approximately 6 weeks in North Carolina, and Watts had flown out to visit in early August. McCoy was also aware that Shanann had recently traveled to Arizona for a work trip and had just returned. Watts had told McCoy about marital problems with Shanann, but he did not elaborate in depth. Watts and Shanann loved their children, and McCoy believed they were trying to talk things out. Watts was described as humble and quiet, and McCoy never had the impression that Watts was seeing anyone else. McCoy last saw Watts Monday, August 13th, 2018. McCoy and Watts were working on equipment at an oil well called Survey 319 near Ruggin. McCoy believes he made it to Survey 319 at approximately 8:30 a.m. Chad McNeil and Melissa Parrish were also assisting. Parrish is relatively new, and she was shadowing Cody Roberts at the time. Roberts had reported an issue with the well the previous Friday, August 10th, 2018, so their task at Survey 319 was to correct the problem. The group left Survey 319 at approximately 11 a.m. and traveled to UPRC 1029. At some point after arriving at the second site, Watts began receiving notifications that a friend, Nicole, was ringing his home doorbell trying to contact him. Watts spoke with Nicole on the telephone a few times. He had walked away from a gas motor when he took these calls, but he was in McCoy's vicinity. Watts left UPRC 1029 soon after taking these calls. Watts was driving his Anadarko work truck, which is a brown Ford F-250 or similar. Watts' truck has 2 toolboxes, 2 tanks, and other items in the bed. McCoy explained that the beds of their work trucks are generally fully laden, which makes tasks such as hauling an additional air compressor in the bed difficult. The truck is an extended cab, but not a full 4-door crew cab. McCoy knows Watts to keep his truck very clean, and he does not believe Watts generally keeps much in the rear seat besides jackets or other clothing. McCoy remarked that Watts' home was very clean when he visited earlier in the year. McCoy messaged Watts later in the day to ask how he was. McCoy provided verbal consent for interviewing agents to access McCoy's cell phone and photograph and video text messages sent between McCoy and Watts. Ryder began photographing messages prior to transitioning to video recording due to the amount of content. The messages for both personal and work telephones are maintained on disks and stored in 1A envelopes associated with this document. It should be noted that text messages to Watts' work telephone were recovered August 17, 2018, during a follow-up interview with McCoy with interviewing agents. CCBI reporting for additional information about this follow-up interview. McCoy believes it generally takes about an hour or an hour and 15 minutes to drive to Survey 319 from the Anadarko office. There are approximately 5...
That's been changing all over the place. They keep saying it's like 45 minutes, then it's 50 minutes, then it's an hour, then it's an hour and 10 minutes. It's like, what is it actually?
500 E40 batteries in the area maintained by McCoy's group. 6 or 7 of these sites are on or near Survey Ranch, which is a cattle ranch. Most of these are older sites that will eventually be plugged and abandoned. The sites are generally not very large, and they may contain a couple tanks, a water pit, and a well. McCoy, Watts, and their crews are responsible for keeping...
So it's just kind of funny that they were already scheduled to be destroyed right there. Like, people keep saying that I was making that up about the destruction of these places that was going to start in October. It was September, and then they had to postpone it till December. People were lying about that. It's in the Discovery. It's in the Discovery. I never lied about it once.
These wells operating until the wells are shut down. Survey 319 specifically has tanks, a plunger lift, and a single separator. The tanks have openings that are approximately 12 inches by 12 inches, and the main...
12 inches on the outside, 9 inches on the inside. Just remember that.
Way cover on the back held by 27 or more bolts. Clean out crews sometimes come and access these tanks via this hatch. So... he said approximately 12 by 12, but remember that I think weren't they only like 8.5, 9 inches?
It went from 12 down to 8. Sorry.
I don't know. Yeah, he says 12 inches by 12 inches. That is what he's talking about, right? The opening of the hatch, which was it 8.5 or 9 inches? But anyway, McCoy was familiar with another associate of Watts, a male, name unknown. Watts had introduced this male to running 10-kilometer runs. The unidentified male's wife is also involved in Thrive, which is how McCoy and Watts met him. Watts has lost weight over the past year or so, which he attributed to working out and meal preparation. Watts explained that he was trying to become healthy. McCoy was not aware of any additional associates, friends, or family for either Watts or Shenan. He was not aware of any jealousy issues, enemies, or any other malicious intent toward either Watts or Shenan. McCoy provided a map of the Survey Ranch and surrounding sites. Ryder photographed this map, and these photographs are electronically maintained with this document. Okay, so that's a summary of McCoy's interview. Okay, so here is Nick Thayer's summary of his interview. Okay. So, Nicholas Thayer, hereafter referred to as Nick, date of birth, Thornton, Colorado, telephone, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, was interviewed at his residence. After being advised of the identity of the interviewing agent and the nature of the interview, Nick provided the following.
I know that Nick Thayer is so, like, distraught that monster, Chris Watts, slept across the room from their daughter because they thought they were helping a friend, but here the monster was in their home.
Information. Nick is employed as a media director for Prop Incorporated. 7600, give the address of his company that he works for, okay? It says he obtained a high school diploma. So Nick's wife, Amanda Thayer, and Shanann Watts set up a play date for the kids in approximately April 2017. So Nick met Chris there at the play date at the park in Frederick. So that summer, the Thayers saw them almost every weekend at each other's home and going out to dinner. So in the fall of 2017, Chris started getting into running. Nick and Chris ran at times through the winter on the weekends. Chris said he was working out at the Frederick Recreation Center. They didn't share much personal talk, though. Chris was self-contained and didn't offer much. We know how Chris is. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but yeah. So Nick was also friends with Shanann. They all got along. Nick and Chris mostly communicated through texting about going for runs, sports in general, or making plans for the weekends. There were not many phone calls. So just mostly text, you know. So Nick and Amanda moved to Thornton, Colorado in 2018. The Thayers saw Shanann and Chris less. So looks like they, moved away, farther from where they obviously used to live, it sounds like. So then they just didn't see each other as much. So Shanann and the kids went to North Carolina for 6 weeks in June 2018. Chris joined them in North Carolina during their last week there, and they all flew back together. Nick and Amanda saw Chris on the 4th of July at the fireworks show in Thornton. Nick asked Chris a question along the lines of, "What's it like to be a bachelor?" Chris responded that it was weird being in an empty home and that he was working all the time. Yeah, right. And remember how he said he never even spent time at home. He was always at NK's, so...
Yeah, no kidding.
Anyway, Chris said that Shanann got upset because he missed one of her phone calls. Yeah, because remember, isn't it the phone call he missed, the one where he was at NK's house, on the 4th of July, and...
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he's sleeping at another woman's house. He misses the phone call. Yeah, I think maybe I'd be mad, too. No, I don't mean to laugh, but I just... Yeah,
so... It's so dumb. That's what it is. It's so dumb.
I'm wondering if is that the... Oh, wait, so 4th of July. So, yeah, he was there the 4th of July. That had to be what he was talking about. Because it was the 3rd to the 4th, right? When that whole... Remember, he had to talk her off the ledge, and Shanann was calling him because he slept over the night of the 3rd into the 4th morning, supposedly at her house. But then, she has a different story than Kay. But anyway, so remember she calls and he sleeps in. He misses Shanann's call, takes it, NK's in the shower, and then comes in and tells her, I got to get home. So when she calls back, I'm at home. So...
What kind of life
And then later that night, he's at Nick and Amanda's house, or he sees them at the fireworks. And he tells...
Oh, that's what
Nick
he meant.
That, she got mad because... he missed one of her phone calls. Chris added
I didn't realize
he's working out, he runs upstairs when she calls. And he hides that he's doing stuff without Shanann and the girls. Like, working out? What? Why would she get mad that he was working out? Wait, anytime he's working out, he runs upstairs when she calls and hides that he's doing stuff without Shanann and the girls.
Like... texting his mistress?
I don't know. I mean, how would she even know if he was working out? I mean, how would she even know if he was downstairs? Oh, a FaceTime, I guess. I was going to say, how would she even know if he was downstairs when she called? But if she FaceTimes him, she would. But I seriously doubt that she would get upset if he was working out.
Yeah.
When she called, working out without her, like she didn't really work out with him. So, I don't know. That don't even make sense to me. Like, I have to hide. He has to run upstairs when he's working out because he hides doing stuff without the Shanann and the girls. Like, the kids are gonna be mad too, or Shanann's gonna be mad that you're not working out with the kids. I mean, that's not something that don't even make sense. I mean, I could see if he's talking about other things, but he's not making sense where he's saying when he's working out, he runs upstairs when she calls because he hides that he's doing stuff without Shanann. So
why would she get mad if he was doing...
He works out. You know what I'm saying? So, but that makes me wonder.
I know Shanann would say that she didn't like Chris when he went on his runs because then she'd be home by herself. But
if there's a little bit of truth to what he's saying, that he does run upstairs when she calls because NK is down there with him, maybe. You know what I'm saying? She's actually down there, you know, a lot of the times when she's calling. So he does actually have to run upstairs to answer the phone.
Been in that basement.
So you know what I'm saying? Like, wonder if there is a little bit of truth in what he's saying, but not the complete truth. It's not like he's trying to hide working out. He's trying to hide NK, maybe. I don't know. Just a thought. Anyway, so Nick had no other indication from Chris about the status of the relationship other than those examples. Nick thought perhaps Shanann and Chris were married in 2012. So, what is it? I don't understand what he's saying. Nick thought that perhaps, oh, maybe they were asking him, do you know when they were married? And he's like, well, perhaps. And he was guessing, he wasn't sure in 2012. I don't know. I don't understand that statement. But anyway, Nick stated that he and Chris didn't see each other much and didn't talk much. However, they both signed up for a running race in September 2018. Chris sent Nick a text message photograph of his race shirt and bib number. The two exchanged a few texts regarding the upcoming race. When Chris and Shanann got back from North Carolina, Shanann and Amanda talked for about 45 minutes. Amanda told Nick that Chris and Shanann weren't doing well in their marriage. Amanda asked if Nick saw the post Shanann made about Celeste in North Carolina, to which Nick said he had. Nick and Amanda thought maybe that issue was part of the problem. Nick was aware that Shanann didn't get along with Chris's parents. Nick received a text from Amanda while he was at work. Amanda told him that Shanann wanted them to watch the kids while Shanann and Chris went away for the weekend of 8/17/2018. Remember, they were supposedly they're planning that trip to Aspen to have some time to work on their marriage.
What she should have taken.
So Nick said okay. Nick and Amanda got back from their Kentucky trip on Monday, 8/13/2018, around 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. Nick texted Chris to see if Chris wanted to do some more runs before the September run. Nick provided the following text from his cell phone. So Monday at 4:07 p.m. Hey man, we just got back into town.
But see, they didn't delete all their messages because they had nothing to hide. But then you see Miss Nicole delete all our messages. How is that not sus to these law enforcement people?
When can you run? And Chris responded, not sure, man. I can't find Shanann or the kids. Haven't heard from them all day. Cops are here. I will keep you posted. And Nick texts back, whoa, loser. What? That is crazy, man. Is there anything I could do? Chris responds, I don't know, man. It's very odd right now. And Nick responds, we can head up there, bring you some food. We are here for you. So Nick and Amanda went to Chris's house and rang the bell. Chris answered the door, and describing Chris's appearance, Nick stated it wasn't Chris. Nick stated that Chris appeared different, overwhelmed, like what is going on?
He's trying to hide things is what he's trying to do.
Nick, Amanda, and Chris stood inside by the front door. Nick and Amanda were asking Chris questions about what happened, but Nick could not remember exactly what they asked. Chris told Nick and Amanda the following. This is what he tells Nick and Amanda. Okay. Chris tells Nick and Amanda. That morning when Chris woke up for work, he told Shanann that he wanted to separate. Chris told her before he went to work because he wanted to tell her in person rather than by text or phone. So yeah, so he couldn't just tell her after work, not in the, know, early and wake her up at freaking 4 a.m. Like, just tell me when I get off work. It just doesn't make sense. But anyway, of course, we were come to find out none of this makes. None
of this, Chris Watts. Okay, that's why it was one reason why people wanted to look into the case.
Chris left work, okay? Again. Nick stated that Chris did not comment on how Shanann was doing when he left. When Chris was at work, Nicole Utoff began texting him that she couldn't get a hold of Shanann and that Nicole was at their house. Chris headed for home. On the way, he called the girls' school. He was told that they hadn't checked in. Chris told the school to keep the girls on the wait list. When Chris got home, the cops were there and did a walk around. The cops came back with a warrant for a more in-depth search. The cops offered Chris a chance to walk around and search with them, but he said he'd wait outside. Nick and Amanda and Chris continued talking at the kitchen table. Chris continued. Chris said the cops took Shanann's cell phone. The neighbors showed the cops the security footage of him loading up his truck and leaving that morning, but the footage showed nothing after that. The video doorbell didn't show anything. Chris saw a credit card charge for a taxi cab, but didn't know anything else about it. Chris didn't know what to think or do.
Because Chris was trying to figure out how to shut it off. Chris was trying to figure out how to delete video on his phone. and through the security system, he called them to try to figure out how to delete things. He Googled it too.
And I still don't know that taxi cab because people were saying, commenting, well, it was Uber, but would it show up taxi cab? Because I used to, when I lived in Colorado, I used to use Uber all the time, and I'm trying to think what it shows up on your charge. I didn't think it showed up taxi cab. I'm not sure. Anyway, so yeah, but he didn't know anything else about it. Chris didn't know what to think or do. Nick stated that while the three of them were brainstorming about what they could be doing, Chris stated, "Do I walk out into the field to look for someone?"
What?
Do I walk out into the field to look for someone? Look for who, Chris? I mean, for someone? Like, what do you mean someone? To look for your wife and your kids, you mean?
Or the other woman?
Someone. That is the weirdest statement. Yes, to look for your kids and wife? Yeah, you go look for your kids and wife, yeah, but someone? I mean, well, why don't you go look for your family? Yes. But anyway, Nick stated that Chris made no comments about the fact that Shanann was gone, but all of her stuff was still there. When Amanda mentioned that Shanann's items that were still in the house, Chris confirmed those items as being her phone, purse, wallet, wedding ring, car seats, and the kids' medicine. Based on all those items being left behind.
All the stuff that's important, and he goes, yeah, she's gone, but she didn't take any of her stuff. And the cops are like, oh, okay. Like, they should have been, like, on him, like, we need to arrest this guy. No, they just let him out for a couple days, or a few days.
Chris indicated that he thought Shanann just left. Anyway, so Nick stated that Chris was in the process of calling and texting Shanann's friends. Amanda said she heard about a potential Amber Alert. Chris said he had been contacting emergency rooms before Nick and Amanda arrived. Nick stated that Chris seemed like he was just trying to process everything. He put his head down a lot. He didn't know what to do. Chris told Nick he didn't want to talk to the news because they might pry and turn his words around. Chris knew how it would look, and he would be public enemy.
Which some channels have blamed the Thayers, which, what would they have any part in this case for?
Number one, Nick stated. He was worried about that. Amanda invited Chris to stay at the Thayers' house. Chris said he wouldn't that night, but he would the next night. Amanda and Chris went home around 7 to 8 p.m. When they got home, they texted Chris at 9:33 p.m. They told Chris they had stopped at McDonald's and a gas station at I-25 and Highway 52 to see if anyone there saw anything. Chris responded at 9:43 p.m. stating, "Thanks, man." On Tuesday morning, 8/14, 2018, Nick texted Chris to see if he was going to work. Chris said he didn't get much sleep and was going to stay home. Nick and Amanda took their daughter to school. Nick texted Chris at 8:30 a.m. on 8/14 to ask if he had heard anything from the police. Chris responded, "Nothing yet." The two texted back and forth briefly. Nick and Amanda drove to Chris's house. On the way there, the news media started contacting them. When they arrived at Chris's house, they found Chris to be tired, not himself, and overwhelmed. Yeah, I bet it would be tiring,
Being a liar and a sack of crap.
Taking out your whole family. So, yeah.
Must be
very, very overwhelming.
Wiped. Oh, who else was tired? NK? She was tired and said, I didn't get much sleep and all that.
The three sat at the kitchen table. They talked about the possibility of Nick and Amanda talking to the media about the media talking to Chris. During the afternoon on Tuesday, Nick overheard a telephone call between Chris and either his mother or Shanann's mother. Chris made a comment along the lines of, "The longer this goes on, the more I worry that they might be hurt or in danger." Chris stated that he had received a text from a realtor on Monday night. Chris told Nick and Amanda that he and Shanann had talked about putting the house on the market. The house was too big and too much of a financial burden, and they wanted to downgrade. Chris said he wasn't sure if that is what made Shanann mad at him, although Chris hadn't talked about Shanann being mad before that moment.
They built the house
Chris
together.
was wondering if that's what all started all this. Chris made no mention about having any girlfriends. Nick and Amanda left Chris's house just before 4 p.m. in order to pick up their daughter from school. They offered to have Chris stay at their house that night. Chris agreed to it. Chris said he would be over in a little bit. When Nick and Amanda arrived at their home, Nick called Chris. Chris said he was coming over. Chris called Nick about 10 minutes later and said that Fox News was still in his front yard. Chris was concerned about how it would look if he was seen leaving his house with a bag of clothes. At around 6:20 p.m., Nick texted Chris again. Chris said he was just leaving his house. Approximately 20 minutes later, Chris called. He told Nick that Frederick Police Department wanted him to come to talk to an FBI agent. Nick responded via text stating that he and Amanda would go there and offer support. Chris responded, "Thanks, man." Nick and Amanda went to the Frederick Police Department. Chris came out around 11 p.m. Chris gave a brief summary of the interview, but they all decided to talk more once they got home. At the house, Chris said the interview was intense. He stated it was like being interviewed by 3 people, all by one person. He stated that
But so how he explained how he was interviewed, I guarantee NK would say, "Oh, I got the opposite. I got relaxed, kickback, kind of cool dude and kind of thing." It's like if they were so harsh on NK as they were with Chris, we might be looking at a whole different case, man.
had his phone and asked him all about stuff in his phone. They asked him about his weight loss and who is she. What? And who is she?
He always said that.
They would disappear for 15 minutes and would start over when they came back. He was getting the same questions in a different form. He was grilled and asked, "So why did you do it?" And at the end of the interview, the agent told him he did a good job. Nick and... Because remember, who is she? They asked him about his weight loss and who is she? Because remember,
Nicole?
he didn't admit to having an affair to the next day, the day of the polygraph. So...
Unless they did know.
Wonder how, when he...
Because Anadarko called...
was
Because Anadarko called them and told them that there's a woman that was with Chris and stuff like that. They had the emails and so forth. So they knew before he squealed.
Nick, they asked him about his weight loss and who is she? What do you mean, who is she? I don't know. I'm confused on that one. Anyway, Nick told Chris he had been texting with a private investigator friend. Nick gave Chris some lawyer contact information upon the advice of the private investigator. Chris was appreciative. And then he went to bed. Chris said he was planning on going to work until his dad arrived. On Wednesday, 8:15, Chris told Nick that his work told him not to come in. Chris left the house at 9:30 a.m. to get his dad from the airport. Nick and Amanda went to work. Nick stated that he found it strange that Chris didn't know if Shanann had her Apple Watch since it wasn't in the charger. Nick knew that Shanann always wore her Apple Watch and always had her phone with her. Chris never made other comments over time.
So where was the Apple Watch? Was it found on her? I can't remember if they retained the Apple Watch or if the Apple Watch was found by her. Because if it was actually on her, which I highly doubt because she was sleeping, got up, maybe she put it on for the day, who knows. But that could definitely tell like time of death if it was tracking her heartbeat and stuff like that. I might have to look into that.
About whether Shanann slept while wearing her Apple Watch. Nick stated that he would preserve all his call and text data. Okay, so that's the end of that one. And then, one more. I'm going to do Chad McNeil, a summary of his interview. Remember, Chad McNeil is the worker, his coworker. Was there that morning with Melissa Parrish. Remember, it was Chad and Melissa. Chad McNeil interviewed at his place of employment, Anadarko Petroleum Corporation. McNeil is an Anadarko field coordinator, and he has known Chris for a little more than a year. Approximately a year ago, he transferred to Texas for work, but he returned to the Platteville office on or about August 6th. During his time in Texas, Watts and Troy McCoy assumed McNeil's area of responsibility within Anadarko's oil field around Platteville, Colorado. This area includes E40 battery south and east of Weld County Road 22 to Roggen, Colorado, and Denver International Airport. McNeil recalled that Watts talked the world of his 2 daughters. Since returning to Colorado, McNeil had heard Watts talk about his new baby.
That's why I don't think Chris did his girls. I think somebody else did. But again, I'm not giving Chris any hall pass or anything like that for being an annihilator.
McNeil described Watts as well liked. He did not have issues with other individuals, and McNeil was not aware of Watts having any enemies.
He was a secret
McNeil was not aware of
murderer.
any issues between his wife and other individuals. McNeil was aware that Watts' daughters had some health issues. On Monday, August 13th, 2018, McNeil was assigned to an oil battery called Survey 319, which is located north of Roggen, Colorado. McNeil recalled that he received a text message from Watts at approximately 6:15 a.m. stating that Watts was at the site. McNeil provided consent for interviewing agents to review and photograph text messages exchanged between McNeil and Watts. These messages are electronically maintained with this document. The actual time of this text message stating, "You headed out to Survey, I'm out here," was 6:41 a.m. McNeil arrived at Survey 319 with Melissa Parrish at approximately 8 a.m. McNeil and Parrish drove separately in their work trucks, but they arrived at the battery together. Watts appeared to be normal, which is described as nice, quiet, and pleasant.
Oh, man.
McNeil also described Watts as a hard worker who gets things done. McNeil noted that Watts's pants were tucked into his boots, and McNeil had made a joke about that. Watts appeared to take the joke in good humor. Watts was wearing blue fire-resistant shirt and pants. Survey 319 is described as a standard-sized site of approximately a half acre containing 2 tanks, a separator, and a pump. McNeil, Parrish, Watts, and Troy McCoy worked on Survey 319 for a while, then left to work on Union Pacific Railroad Company, 1029. At UPRC 1029, the operators met Cody Roberts. Roberts had reported a leak on Survey 319 the previous Friday, August 10th, but he began
Which
his
Nicole
day at
wanted
the
the picture
UPRC.
from that.
While at UPRC,
Why?
Watts began talking on his telephone. McNeil learned that some type of security alarms were activated at Watts' home. Watts explained that a neighbor was at his front door, and he was
Nicole.
looking at his phone. Huh. The neighbor.
He's probably looking at the
Nicole.
apps.
I don't know. Watts took approximately 5 or 6 calls while standing near McCoy's truck. Watts appeared worried and flustered about the alarm. Watts stated something to the effect of something is not right. I have to go check it out. And he left UPRC 1029 at approximately noon to go check his home, check his house. At approximately 3:23 p.m., McNeil called Watts to ask how Watts was doing. McNeil joked and asked something to the effect of, "Did you catch the robber?" Watts replied that his family was missing. McNeil offered assistance if Watts needed anything. McNeil did not recall Watts making any odd comments during the day or during follow-up conversations. McNeil was provided contact information for interviewing agents, and he was asked to call if he recalled additional information. Later on, August 15th, 2018, Ryder called McNeil asking for additional directions to Survey 319. McNeil provided the requested information and also advised that he had recalled some additional information. On Monday, August 13th, McNeil had observed Watts wearing old boots with his pants tucked in, as it previously stated. McNeil thought the pants being tucked into the boots was unusual, but he was also told by Troy McCoy that Watts had a new pair of boots that he had been wearing. Watts was not wearing a new pair of boots on Monday. McNeil also recalled Watts complaining that he was hot when McNeil and Parrish arrived.
Yeah, because he tried just digging a
McNeil
hole.
remarked that his complaint was odd as it was only around 8 a.m. Yeah, because he was digging and working his heart rate up. McNeil remarked that his complaint was odd as it was only around 8 a.m. and McNeil did not recall it being very warm. McNeil did not recall seeing any perspiration or stains on Watts' clothing. McNeil did not recall if Watts had performed any work on the site by the time McNeil and Parrish had arrived.
There's two,
Okay, so that's that interview.
2 shovels that were inside the back of the truck.
So those are those interviews. I just wanted to read them and see what you guys think. I think now that I was reading that McNeil one, I feel like I did read parts of that to you guys, I think, already.
I need to look into these interviews.
If you guys have any requests on like certain parts of the discovery you want me to read through, let me.
So with that being said, guys, do you think that anything came from that Jamie Watts possible not wanting to expose her brother, or a kind of hush because she didn't want to exploit Chris's secret because the family knew about it? I have no idea. I just would like to know your guys' thoughts. Plus the other summaries of the different interviews. Do you think any of them could have helped? I, there was a few things that I heard that I definitely want to look into, which I will. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments. Definitely let me know what kind of video you would like to see more when it comes to Chris Watts and your focus on that particular case. Let me know down in the comments. Hit the like button for the obvious reasons that hopefully one day all this information that we find will make a difference. We'll see you guys in the next video. Please take care, be safe, and as always, keep nerding on. We'll see you guys next time.